Shalom, shalom. All praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakar Kadash. Double honors to the apostles, elders, and teachers of Great Millstone for teaching me this 100% truth about our Lord and Savior, Yahweh Shai, Mashiach, and the true reason why he's coming back, which is to save the elect remnant of the house of Israel from their enemies and those that hate them, and to take over the earth and universe, which was given to him by the mighty, mighty Yahweh himself, the Ancient of Days, wherein our Lord and Savior, Yahweh Shai Mashiach, will establish righteousness throughout the whole earth and universe, forever unto the kingdom of the heaven of the Israelites. Shalom, Akim and Akwaf. We one day closer to the kingdom. It's your brother Hadab Yarbad back with another quick lesson with shameful spewing on the glory of the so-called white man, who is Esau Edom in the Holy Scriptures. I'm going to start off in the book of Matthew, 10th chapter, 26th verse. Fear them not, therefore, for there is nothing covered that shall not be revealed, and hid that shall not be known. Yahweh Shai Mashiach speaking, whom the Christians call Jesus. Matthew 10 and 26. Fear them not, therefore, for there is nothing covered that shall not be revealed, and hid that shall not be known. Now, I just did a lesson yesterday talking about the Edomites, so-called modern-day white man, and the snares and traps that they lay, the dirty business that they get on with, these narco-terrorists. And I said the Honduras president name was Gonzalez. It's not Gonzalez, it's Hernandez. Salaki for that, right? Fear them not, therefore, for there is nothing covered that shall not be revealed, and hid that shall not be known. The CIA, Central Intelligence Agency. The master liars, right? We got another example of how they get down. Babylon the Great. And then you wonder why the Lord taking them out of the power seat. Because they are wicked. Job 9 and 24, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. Right? Let's get a couple verses before we play this clip. Now, this is a clip we're going to bring you back into remembrance because, you know, the American public, they attention span only lasts about 15 minutes. So history, if it happened 15 years ago, they ain't going to remember it. But we're going to bring them back into remembrance. Let's go to the book of Jeremiah. We go to 50. We was in 50 yesterday. You can read the whole Jeremiah, like I said yesterday, 49, 50, 51. Look at the title, Prophecy Against Babylon. Babylon the Great, right? Which is America. Let me drop down to get where I want. Yeah. Jeremiah 50 and 11. Because ye were glad, because ye rejoice, O ye destroyers of mine heritage, because ye are grown fat as the heifer at grass and bellow as bulls. Let's get that in the NLT. See how that read. Jeremiah 50 and 11. You rejoice, NLT. You rejoice and are glad, you who plundered my chosen people. You frisk about like a calf in a meadow and neigh like a stallion. Right? They set us up. They destroyed us. Right? And then who gets the blame? So-called black man, so-called Latino man for the destruction of our neighborhoods from the East Coast to the West Coast, North and South, and in Southern America. They destroyed our communities with drugs, destroyed those who were selling the drugs, and those who were using the drugs. But you always got to think to yourself, how did these drugs get over here? And I'm in St. Louis, Missouri. I was checking out a couple of clips because, you know, Jake only glorify evil. They treat good for evil and evil for good. So now it's a series. All these guys that came up in the early 80s, from like 85 all the way up to the BMF era, the Black Mafia family, if you unaware, of drugs they were selling. And I just seen a clip on a guy, what was his name? Barrett, something like that. 25 years old. This guy was moving over 1,000 tons of cocaine a month. And there's several stories of, you know how Jake glorified, like I say, they glorify wickedness in every city, from LA to New York, St. Louis, DC, Detroit, Memphis. They glorifying these guys that destroy communities. But guess what they did? That money helped fund wars for the American government, helped establish coups, weapon sales. Let's continue. But yet they don't get held accountable for that. But the Lord sees all. Jeremiah 50:23. How is the hammer of the whole earth cut asunder and broken? How has Babylon become a desolation among the nations? I have laid a snare for thee, and thou art also taken, O Babylon, and thou wast not aware. Thou art found and also caught, because thou hast striven against the Lord, against Yahweh. Now let me get some. Let's go back to Isaiah 47. All right. Talking about Babylon the Great, Isaiah 47:7. And thou saidest, I shall be a lady forever, so that thou didst not lay these things to thy heart, neither didst remember the latter end of it. Right? Now you're looking around, you got the pharmaceutical companies destroying Edomites families in America and worldwide with their prescription medication, Oxycontin, Percocets, Adderall, the list goes on. Not only did you pump cocaine, fentanyl, heroin, marijuana, ecstasy, mollies in our neighborhoods, they're in your neighborhoods now, right? Who benefits? These dudes are ultra kingpins. Who was benefiting from that money? The American government. They say the Miami skyline got built off the drug trafficking that took place in the 80s in Miami. Who was behind all that? The CIA. Right? Let's go down to 10. For thou hast trusted in thy wickedness. Thou hast said, none seeth me. Thy wisdom and thy knowledge, it hath perverted thee. And thou hast said in thine heart, I am, and none else beside me. Not only did they apply that with they wine that they influenced the whole world with through democracy, they did it on the criminal side too. Sending guns, drugs, and violence throughout the Israelite communities. Therefore shall evil come upon thee. Thou shalt not know from whence it riseth, and mischief shall fall upon thee. Thou shalt not be able to put it off, and desolation shall come upon thee suddenly, which thou shalt not know. You go to point, stand now with thine enchantments. We're going to go through some of these enchantments that they get. And with the multitude of thy sorceries, wherein thou hast labored from thy youth, psychology, the fables, propaganda. Now they just changed the word. It's disinformation now. If so be thou shalt be able to profit. If so be thou mayest prevail. Thou art wearied in the multitude of thy counsels. Let now the astrologers, the stargazers, the monthly prognosticators stand up and save thee from these things that shall come upon thee. Let me see. Shalaki. We're going to get into these words. Let's go back to Jeremiah 50. Chalaki, Israel. This talk about the Lord sending all the nations against Babylon the Great for war. Jeremiah 50:31. Behold, I am against thee, O thou most proud, saith the Lord Yahweh, the most high power of hosts. For thy day is come, the time that I will visit thee. Now, it's been all kind of shameful spewing on their glory every day. You wake up, check the news. Some of them Amalekites have done. They behind 95% of the wickedness going around the world. And they using their regular other Edomites from households like the house of Teman, right, to carry out their dirty work. Then they use us, the children of Israel, to destroy each other. By doing what? Pumping drugs entire neighborhoods, violence, the gangs. And the most proud shall stumble and fall, and none shall raise them up. And I will kindle a fire in his cities, and it shall devour all round about him. They was going worldwide with these drugs, right? Shalaki. Here go the point. Jeremiah 50:35. A sword is upon the Chaldeans, saith Yahweh, and upon the inhabitants of Babylon, and upon her princes, and upon her wise men. A sword is upon the liars, because that's all they do. And they shall dote. A sword is upon her mighty men, and they shall be dismayed. You continue with 37. I'll go and read it. A sword is upon their horses, and upon their chariots, and upon all the mingled people that are in the midst of her. All these mingled people, half of them came because their country was destroyed by Babylon the Great via the CIA, or just a regular military when they perform coups, what they call color revolutions, sanctions that they put on Venezuela. Right? It's caused their economy to collapse. It happened in Trump's first presidency, but it didn't collapse all the way. Right? We look at all the countries in South America, like I said yesterday, on the Pacific Ocean side, they are all corrupt. And we're going to get into this clip on Manuel Noriega. You remember him? The ex-leader of Panama. Guess who he used to work for? That's why I just read Jeremiah 50:36. A sword is upon the liars, and they shall dote. A sword is upon her mighty men, and they shall be dismayed. The biggest drug runners is the American government. A sword is upon Jeremiah 50:37 again. A sword is upon their horses, and upon their chariots, and upon all the mingled people that are in the midst of her. That's why Jeremiah 51 gonna have Thanos. You took the dope from Afghanistan. Now they over here using them to say they doing terrorist attacks on Americans. They shot 2 National Guardsmen. Who trained them? The CIA. Who provided all these local kingpins that the wicked of Israel celebrate so much with all them drugs? The CIA. A sword is upon their horses, and upon their chariots, and upon all the mingled people that are in the midst of her, and they shall become as women. A sword is upon her treasures, and they shall be robbed. They're already saying that the Edomites, so-called modern-day white man, love the drug business. It keeps the stock market going. That's how they rinse their money. All these things are coming out. Shameful spewing shall be on your glory. Now let's get this. I want to read this in the Good News translation. Let's go to Sirach 36:19. Because that's them. This is the prudent man. This is what we doing. We be a watchman. Right? And just as the tongue can distinguish the flavors of different kinds of meat, so a sharp mind can detect lies. We've been knowing y'all was lying. The prudent man, right? They do a diligent search. We do too. Dig up all the evidence and facts on these crooked ass Edomites. Let's go to the book of Baruch. This is how the Lord programmed, right? Baruch 3 and 22. And I'm reading this again out of the Good News Translation. Baruch 3 and 22. Wisdom was not found by the Canaanites. It has not been discovered by the Edomites, the so-called modern-day white man. Canaanites are Hamites. Verse 23, go to point. Although they search after knowledge, the way of wisdom has not been found by the merchants of Moran and Tema. Tema meaning the house of Esau, Edom, or by those who relate fables, or by any others who seek understanding. And that's what the Edomites go off of. Fables. And a little magic, which is disinformation, right? Now, let's check this out. Like I said yesterday, I said the guy's name was Gonzalez, but it's not. It's Hernandez, right? He just got pardoned. Let's go. Let's look at that. The pardon. He just got pardoned by Trump. Former Honduran President Juan Orlando Hernandez, who was more than likely a 12 Tribes member, but we don't know because of confusion of face, was recently pardoned by U.S. President Donald Trump and released from prison after serving less than a year of a 45-year sentence for drug trafficking and weapons offenses. Shalaki. The pardon. President Trump announced his intention to issue a full and complete pardon on November 28, 2025, and it was formally granted on December the 1st, 2025. Hernandez was released from U.S. Penitentiary Hazleton in West Virginia the same day. The conviction. In March 2024, a Manhattan jury found Hernandez guilty of conspiring to import hundreds of tons of cocaine into the U.S. and related firearms charges. Prosecutors argue he ran Honduras as a narco state, accepting millions in bribes from traffickers, including Joaquin El Chapo Guzman, to protect their shipments. Now, with that same statement I just read, shouldn't that be a reason for DJ and the American government to go and bomb the people of Honduras, just like they want to do to the people of Venezuela, because they say they're a narco state? Trump's rationale. Let's see what he say. Trump defended the pardon by claiming Hernandez was set up in a Biden administration setup and treated unfairly. This stance has been disputed by prosecutors who note the investigation spanned multiple administrations, including Trump's first term, which they are correct. Right? Lobbying efforts. The pardon followed a lobbying campaign by Trump allies, including political operator Roger Stone, who claimed Hernandez was a victim of political persecution. Hernandez himself wrote a letter to Trump appealing for a pardon, comparing his own situation to Trump's legal challenges. He paid to get up out of that. The pardon has drawn widespread criticism from both Democratic and Republican lawmakers, as it appears to conflict with the Trump administration's stated objective of aggressively fighting drug trafficking. Honduran authorities have suggested that Hernandez may still face charges if he returns to Honduras. Lies. We don't need to read that. Look at him. Now, this guy got pardoned for selling drugs. Now, let's look at the Ecuadorian president. Let me get some. Let's see if it'll go through this. Nah, man, this is in Spanish, man. Hold on 1 second. It is right here. We got to get this. I'm gonna do president of Ecuador. Yeah. Daniel Noboa. Let's get an overview. Daniel Roy Gilchrist Noboa Arzan is an Ecuadorian politician and businessman serving as the 48th and current president of Ecuador since 2023. Right? Now look at this. They just said is an Ecuadorian politician and businessman serving as the 48th and current president of Ecuador since 2023. Having first taken office at the age of 35, he is the second youngest president in the country's history, and Juan Jose Flores, and the youngest to be elected. Now, they just said he was an Ecuadorian politician. Look where he was born and raised at. Born November 30th, 1987 in Miami, Florida. He from Miami, right? Why ain't they bring up his father? His father is an entrepreneur that traffics drugs. Let me see. Let's click on this and see what pop up. Look at this. He has dual citizenship with Ecuador and the United States. Ain't that nothing? And I guess who his allies is? America. Look at his education. He got educated in America. There it is right there. I'll read it from the top. Noboa was a member of the National Assembly of Ecuador from 2021 to 2023 when it was dissolved following the Muerte Cruzada constitutional mechanism invoked by President Guillermo Lasso. Before his political career, Noboa served in several positions at Noboa Corporation, an exporting business founded by his father, Alvaro Noboa, a billionaire who unsuccessfully ran for president of Ecuador 5 times. He has been widely described as an heir to his father's company and fortune. Nah. You see his father, right? A billionaire, what they say? He's in the exporting business. Let's look up this, Bonita Bananas. Bonita Bananas cocaine shipping scandal. Let's see what they say. They say it's a scandal, right? But it was true. The Bonita Bananas cocaine shipping scandal refers to a recent investigative reports and numerous large-scale drug seizures linking cocaine trafficking to the supply chain of Noboa Trading Company, a company within the business empire of Ecuador's president, Daniel Noboa's family. Company link. The Bonita brand is produced by Noboa Corporation, the sprawling business conglomerate run by the family of Ecuadorian President Daniel Noboa. The specific firm handling exports is Noboa Trading Company. An investigative findings. An investigation by the Organized Crime and Corruption Reporting Project and Serbian outlet published in 2025 revealed confidential prosecution documents and decrypted chat messages from the Sky EEC platform between alleged Balkan drug traffickers. Alleged complicity. In the chats, traffickers allegedly bragged that no one but them was allowed to load cocaine into containers shipped by Noboa Trading Company. Reporters were able to match the details in the chat logs, dates, ships, names, container numbers, the real shipping records for Bonita Banana exports, seizures, and scope. Authorities in Europe have made significant cocaine seizures in containers bearing the Bonita logo and originating from Ecuador. In 2023, 600 kilos were seized in Turkey. In late 2020 and early 2021, 3 specific shipments linked in the chat logs resulted in the seizure of 535 kilos of cocaine in total in Croatia. Broader seizures of cocaine and Ecuadorian banana shipments, not all explicitly named Bonita, but from the Noboa family firm, have also occurred in Spain, the Netherlands, Greece, and Russia, totaling many tons of drugs worth hundreds of millions of dollars. And before you say anything, like I said, I've been looking at the rise and falls of the Jake King pins. The one guy from California had to have been LA, I think he might have been South Central. He was only 25 years old when they caught him. He was shipping cocaine from Colombia through LA all the way over to Denmark, Italy. So it's a worldwide game. Guess who behind it all? You guessed it. Your boys, Babylon the Great. Border seizures of cocaine and Ecuadorian banana shipments, not all explicitly named. I just read that. But from the Noboa family firm have also occurred in Spain and Netherlands, Greece, and Russia, totaling many tons of drugs worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Political conflict and interest. Political conflict of interest. The revelations present a major conflict of interest for President Noboa, who has based his presidency on a hardline war against drug cartels and narco-terrorists. See how they lie? He has denied personal involvement in the company, stating that he is not the owner, but has confirmed family members are involved. And yet he's still the president. So I guess DJ nothing to go over there and attack him. Nope, they got the same playbook, people. Now let's see where it started. Let's get this. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringed. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips to balance in favor of fair use. Fair use is in full effect. This is for educational purposes only. Guess who educated these modern-day drug cartels? Who started them and taught them how to run their businesses? We finna find out. Let's get something. Shalaki. I just lost my thought. Where I was finna go. Shalaki is right here. Let's go to the book of Habakkuk, 2nd chapter. We bringing out everything that these Edomites been doing. So there won't be no reason why y'all don't understand why the Lord finna destroy their ass. And as they have done, it shall be done unto them. Right? Habakkuk 2:8, because thou hast spoiled many nations. All the remnant of the people shall spoil thee, because of men's blood and for the violence of the land of the city and all that dwell therein. And you know what comes with drug dealing. Violence. Right? Woe to him that coveteth an evil covetousness to his house, that he may set his nest on high, that he may be delivered from the power of evil. You think the cartel's rich. What about the Edomites that's on top of them? Right? Here go the point. Habakkuk 2:12. Woe to him that buildeth a town with blood. They say the Miami skyline got built by drug dealers. The cocaine cowboys establishes a city by iniquity. They destroyed our families. Right? So when you look at Deuteronomy 28th chapter, starting with the 15th verse on down, you will understand some of these curses came about after what? Israelite men and women were filled with greed. They lusted after their eyes. All they seen was money, fast money at that, right? "15. Woe to him that giveth his neighbor drink, that putteth that bottle to him, and maketh him drunken also, that thou may seest his nakedness." Shalaki, that thou may lookest on their nakedness. Thou art filled, they go to point, with shameful glory. Drink thou also, and let thy foreskin be uncovered. The cup of Yahweh's right hand shall be turned unto thee, and shameful spewing shall be on thy glory. This is for educational purposes only. Now let's look at some of the Shalaki. Let's see. Shalaki. Let me just, because they do these things in secret. Let me see something. See if it's in Jeremiah 49. Yo, I just read it in Baruch, right? The Lord did not impart righteous wisdom to the Edomites. They got the wicked wisdom from the left-hand side. Prophecy against Edom. Concerning Edom, thus saith Yahweh of hosts, is wisdom no more intimate? You just read that, Baruch, right? 3 and 23. Is counsel perished from the prudent? Is their wisdom vanished? Yes, it is, because they don't know how to do right. Right? Verse 10, but I have made Esau bare. I have uncovered his secret places, and he shall not be able to hide himself. His seed is spoiled, and his brethren and his neighbors, and he is not. Right? Now, the younger Edomites finna feel these curses from the Lord. That's why you got a majority of them right now going off that fentanyl. I'm trying to think, what was that other damn drug that they was on besides fentanyl and heroin? As I call it, heroin. These prescription pills. Huh? Let me see something. Let me get to the point. Yeah, it's not that. Shalaki. Who seeth us? Roughly paraphrasing. Who seeth me? I'm trying to figure. Yeah, that's it. Isaiah 29 and 15. This for the CIA. The CIA, between the CIA, MI6 that's ran out of Great Britain, Edomites, and the Mossad that's ran by them 48 fakers, the crown coverers. They have done a lot of damage around the world, and they're going to pay for it. Isaiah 29 and 15. Woe to them that seek deep to hide their counsel from Yahweh, and their works are in the dark. And they say, who seeth us? And who knoweth us? Surely your turning of things upside down shall be esteemed as the potter's clay. For shall the work say of him that made it, he made me not? Or shall the thing framed say of him that framed it, he have no understanding? Now look, these boys that went to school, we finna check out the life and times of Manuel Noriega. That's why I say I'm gonna title this The Same Old Playbook. Since the CIA was created, they've been doing deceptive shit, thinking ain't nobody seeing them. But all the evidence is coming out. Well, we'll get this right quick. Shameful spewing is on the glory of Esau Edom. I'm gonna end with this one. We're going to play this clip, right, from 2nd Ezra, the 6th chapter, 28th verse, because that's what's going down. As for faith, 2nd Ezra 6 and 28, as for faith, it shall flourish. Corruption. These governments are corrupt. If you can't see that they moving forward with their agenda to try to get to the NWO, the New World Order, it's going to be to your detriment. You're going to fall for it. Corruption shall be overcome. They corrupt. The CIA corrupt. And the truth, which have been so long without fruit, shall be declared. Now check this out. For educational purposes only. The same old playbook. They just let Hernandez off. They want Maduro. But like I said in my lesson yesterday, the drugs coming from the western part of the Pacific Ocean in South America. Honduras, Ecuador, Colombia, right? Let's check this out, Israel. Let's look at the history. And look at the title. How the CIA created.
Victory over drugs is our cause, a just cause. And with your help, we are going to win.
On the 20th of December 1989, the United States launched its biggest military operation since the end of the Vietnam War. More than 25,000 soldiers poured into the small Central American Republic of Panama, supported by air power and a huge intelligence operation.
On December the 20th last year, the Latin American Republic of Panama was being liberated.
On paper, the invasion was about restoring democracy. In reality, this was a drugs bust, carried out to arrest one of America's most wanted traffickers. And this drug lord wasn't your typical on-the-run fugitive hiding out in the jungle. In fact, it was Manuel Noriega, the head of the Panamanian military and de facto ruler of the entire country.
Noriega is responsible for the terror on our streets.
And somewhat awkwardly for the US, Noriega had been a key...
Hear what he just said? Noriega is responsible for the terror on our streets. Didn't we hear that before? Ain't they saying that right now about Nicolas Maduro? Right? That's why I just read Jeremiah 50. And they shall be found liars.
American ally and a CIA intelligence asset for decades. This is how the Cold War met the war on drugs, and how the CIA helped to create a cocaine dictator. Panama is a relatively small country, and there's no particular reason why it should be considered a vital strategic interest to the US military, apart from one thing: the Panama Canal. About 5% of all global trade passes through the canal, which tends to make the US sit up and pay attention. Throughout the 20th century, America ran the canal directly through a series of military bases here, here, and here.
The United States is deeply engaged in the anti-communist struggle in the competition with the Soviet Union. The United States was concerned that the Soviet Union was making...
When you look at this clip, look at all the Edomites. The earth is given into the hand of the wicked. Job 9:24.
play for Latin America. Panama was a key player on the side of the United States.
Manuel Noriega first came to work for the CIA all the way back in 1955. By the mid-1960s,
1955, 1952, the CIA performed a coup in the country of where? Iran. So they've been doing this, right?
he was receiving specialist training in intelligence and psychological warfare at the infamous School of the Americas, where the US military trained many of Latin America's most prolific human rights abusers.
More than 200 Latin American students, hailing from 18 different nations, study technical skills and leadership techniques at the school.
After a coup in 1968, Noriega rose to become head of military intelligence. And this is when his career, both as a CIA spy and a drug trafficker, began to take off, with Noriega using his position to provide protection to drug shipments from South America.
Essentially,
So I just read something similar about the Ecuadorian president's family. There's no new thing under the sun, right? Same old playbook from Esau Edom. Wherever they go, death and destruction follows.
he's taking money from drug traffickers to help them out. But at the same time, he's cooperating with the CIA, with military intelligence. He becomes more useful to the CIA and to the DIA, to military intelligence.
Perhaps the most controversial question surrounding Noriega's involvement with US intelligence is how much the CIA knew about his drug trafficking, and either chose to ignore it or actively protect him. This is particularly relevant to future President George H.W. Bush, who in the mid-1970s was head of the CIA.
His drug trafficking was not a mystery to the CIA. The CIA was working with many people in Central America in this period who were involved in drug trafficking. The same people who were transporting guns on our behalf, in many cases, were also transporting cocaine. George Bush, in 1976, is head of the CIA. Noriega actually goes to meet with Bush in Washington around this period.
Noriega's involvement in drugs was serious enough that as early as 1972, the Nixon White House actually considered assassinating him. But he was considered so essential by the CIA and the Pentagon that the plan was never carried out. And awkwardly enough for George Bush's later claims of ignorance, in 1976, the CIA actually put Noriega on a regular annual salary that eventually rose to over $200,000 a year.
Now, in 1976, he already the president of Panama. Why is he on the payroll of the American government for the tab of $200,000 a year? Shameful spewing.
The CIA at the time being George Bush. Then, in 1983, Noriega took full control as de facto dictator of Panama. Noriega went straight into business with the rising Colombian cartels, giving them landing strips for their cocaine shipments at upwards of 100 grand per flight.
Did drugs get transported in his aircraft through this deal that you arranged?
We set up a deal that ended up in a drug shipment.
When Pablo Escobar murdered the Colombian Minister of Justice in 1984 and had to go on the run, it was Noriega's Panama that offered him shelter. At the same time, Noriega was keeping up his contacts with the American intelligence agencies. Any drug trafficker who didn't pay could be reported to the DEA, effectively making them the muscle of Noriega's narco protection racket.
The DEA, CIA, FBI, alcohol, tobacco, and firearms, all of them corrupt. So if they didn't pay, guess who Noriega told? You heard what he said. He called the DEA. Meanwhile, black communities, Latin communities being destroyed. But they didn't think it was going to hit the white community, but it did. And it is now.
And Noriega wasn't just cashing in on the cocaine flowing north to the US. For decades, America had encouraged Panama to resist communism by becoming the Switzerland of Central America, establishing a strong banking sector with extremely strict privacy laws. This, of course, was very handy for drug cartels needing to launder money, and plane loads of cash began flying in from Miami, with Noriega providing protection until the money could disappear into the opaque Panamanian banking system.
The drug underworld is swimming in a sea of money, money that filters back into the legitimate economy.
The real money starts pouring in. The cartels in Colombia are now very active. Drug trafficking is going out of control. Billions of dollars are being produced by the cartels, and Noriega is offered a chunk of that.
Noriega was able to keep getting away with all this throughout almost the entire 1980s, partially because the Reagan administration was supporting right-wing rebels known as the Contras, as they fought a bloody civil war in Nicaragua.
You can check that out. The Iran-Contra affair, right? Selling guns, selling drugs to get guns to get it to the people of Nicaragua, right?
Congress had made supporting the Contras illegal, so this all had to be done off the books. And that's where Noriega came in.
He was providing intelligence. That's number one. Number two was arms shipments.
So, between the booming cocaine trade and clandestine military supply chains, how did it all come crashing down? In the early 80s, an opponent of Noriega's in Panama named Hugo Spadafora made a series of very public accusations about Noriega's drug trafficking activities. The military seized Spadafora, and a day later, his tortured and decapitated body was discovered. But what probably brought down Noriega was more that he'd simply outlived his usefulness. The Cold War was winding down, and the American defense establishment was getting less paranoid about communists and more twitchy about drug cartels.
If we can't take Noriega on with the power that we have in the area, how are we going to deal with the drug lords in Mexico, in Colombia, in Bolivia, and when are we really going to take on that war?
In 1988, Noriega was indicted.
See how they create a problem, get the reaction from the people, and now they got the solution. We got to take them out. After they funded him, educated him, paid him, and was his muscle.
In a Miami court on multiple drug trafficking charges. During his election campaign, George Bush had been questioned about his CIA links with Noriega, but that didn't stop him from winning the presidency a year later.
I mean, anybody who sits there and does nothing and says he didn't know that Noriega was doing drugs and running drugs and is a suspected murderer, in my judgment, doesn't have what it takes to lead this country.
In his first TV address as president, Bush held up a bag of crack and declared a major escalation in the war on drugs, claiming it was a just cause.
Victory over drugs is our cause, a just cause. And with your help, we are going to win.
In a not overly subtle reference to Bush's drug policy speech, the invasion was called Operation Just Cause.
Noriega was the intelligence hub in Central America. He knew where the bodies were buried on all sides. He knows what the CIA is doing and all of the dirty work that we are participating in. The interesting thing is that he never uses that information.
Over 500 Panamanians died in this drugs bust, along with 23 US soldiers. Noriega tried to claim diplomatic asylum in the Vatican Embassy in Panama, but US troops surrounded it and blasted Van Halen songs until he couldn't take any more and surrendered.
He's a fugitive drug dealer, and we want to see him brought to justice. And if that helps, if there's some incentive for some Panamanian to turn him in, that's a very $1 million that I would be very happy to.
$1 million they put on his head. They got 50 on Maduro's head. Look at that individual. 1976, he came to your office when you was the CIA director. You ain't had no problem with him then. Like I say, they create these people and then destroy them and make themselves look like the good guy. So now everything the Edomites do, the so-called modern-day white man, is pure. Their hands ain't dirty in this.
Sign the check for, yes.
The potential for embarrassment is high, with the defense team promising revelations of CIA involvement in the murky world of international drug smuggling and gun running.
Noriega was flown to Miami, stood trial on the drug charges, and was sentenced to 40 years. He served 17 before being extradited to a prison term in France and then to another in Panama before dying in 2017. For all the bullets fired, people killed, and billions spent on the war on drugs since Noriega was sent to prison, the drug trade has only increased, and the people who run it have only got richer.
We'd like to congratulate drugs for winning the war on drugs.
That's all we need from that. Let's go back. Isaiah 29:15, woe unto them that seek deep to hide their counsel from Yahweh, and their works are in the dark. And they say, who seeth us? And who knoweth us? Yeah, the Lord see. The Lord know. And y'all ass is in trouble. Let's go back to 50. We ended on this, Israel. Because all these things, all this wicked business that they've been doing, from the drugs to the wine that they sold all the other countries, especially how they treated the children of Israel. Jeremiah 50:24, I have laid a snare for thee, and thou art also taken, O Babylon, and thou wast not aware. Thou art found and also caught, because thou hast striven against Yahweh. Let me get to the, right? Verse 36, a sword is upon the liars. That's what they are, man. All they do is lie. And they shall dote. A sword is upon her mighty men, and they shall be dismayed. Guess what, Israel? Esau's empire is crumbling. Shame for spewing on their glory. We'll get this right quick, because the whistleblowers continue to come out on a daily basis. Psalm 64:8, so they shall make their own tongue to fall upon themselves. All that see them shall flee away. Guess what, Israel? We one day closer to the kingdom. Shalom.